Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon. We're so glad you could join us today. I'm Aja Goare. President Trump is reportedly furious about a new book that paints his first year in office in an unflattering light. The book was compiled using more than 200 interviews with people on the inside. As CBS's Moa reports, the book is set to be released next week, but not if the president gets his way.
President Trump is trying to shut down a new book that has details about his first year in office. The president's lawyers sent a cease and desist letter to the publishers of Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House. The letter demands the publishers not release the book and that the author release a full and complete retraction along with an apology. Among the book's revelations is a quote from former White House strategist Steve Bannon, who called a June 2016 meeting Donald Trump Jr. arranged with a Russian lawyer as treasonous and unpatriotic. President Trump personally responded to Bannon's claims, saying, "Steve Bannon has nothing to do with me or my presidency. When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind."
We can see in their reaction that the fury now is by the president. I'm told that yesterday in the West Wing, people tried to avoid the president, sort of the way you stay away from your dad.
The book's author released even more excerpts today, including news that President Trump encouraged allies to engage in partisan attacks against Robert Mueller, who's leading the investigation into collusion with Russia. Starting today, the White House says all staffers and guests will no longer be able to use any personal devices in the West Wing.
Well, this is sort of closing the barn door after the horse is over the hill. I mean, this book is out.
The White House says the rules are for security purposes. Mola Lengi, CBS News, the White House.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says from now on, staff will use their government-issued devices to conduct their work. An Obama-era policy that turned a blind eye to states that legalize recreational marijuana is in the crosshairs of Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The earlier ruling allowed states to effectively decriminalize marijuana use, even though it's still illegal under federal law. Sessions' announcement this morning gives U.S. attorneys the green light to aggressively enforce federal laws against marijuana in all states. Here in Montana, the Rollins man killed in a snowboarding accident near Lakeside was awaiting trial for rape. 22-year-old Connor Heidegger was sent to stand trial in Flathead County District Court later this month. Heidegger allegedly entered a home in Big Fork in August and raped a woman. He was out on $100,000 bond when he was killed Saturday. Authorities say Heidegger died after he jumped off a cliff while snowboarding out of bounds near Lakeside. The number of deaths on Montana roadways in 2017, the lowest reported since the 1980s. Montana Highway Patrol reports 186 traffic fatalities in 2017. That's just 4 fewer than in 2016. The total brought down by a 32% decrease in deaths on rural roads. The 2017 report shows a notable decline in deadly crashes involving alcohol and drugs. The majority of fatal crashes involved a single vehicle, and seatbelts were not used in nearly half of fatal crashes. The city of Helena is dealing with unhealthy air quality due to the current weather inversion. Lewis and Clark County Environmental Health Services reports air particulates have reached a level considered unhealthy for sensitive groups. If air quality is deemed poor, all burning by non-EPA certified devices like certain stoves and furnaces is prohibited. Violations can result in a fine. Now, some exemptions do exist. And on that note, a powerful winter storm is slamming states up the East Coast. CBS's Kenneth Craig is in Boston, where residents are bracing for more than a foot of snow.
Plows tried to stay ahead of the snow along the Jersey Shore Thursday morning, but not fast enough for some drivers.
I'm stuck. I can't get to work.
The winter storm that's being called a bomb cyclone with snow, ice, and strong winds spans nearly the entire length of the eastern seaboard.
Hold up. All right.
Overnight in Norfolk, Virginia, the whiteout conditions trapped a police car on Interstate 264. Others got on the ground to dig their cars out. Boston and other parts of New England should get the brunt of it. Forecasters expect a foot to a foot and a half of snow with winds up to 75 miles per hour. It's not just the wind here in Boston that forecasters are concerned about, but how quickly this snow could be coming down, upwards of 3 inches per hour.
We always get a couple blizzards a year, so we're kind of expecting it.
This is nothing for New England.
person is crying about this. They need to go back to Arkansas or Mississippi.
Southerners had a different reaction to the storm Wednesday.
This is crazy.
Drivers in Savannah, Georgia had to clear off their cars.
I don't really even know how to drive on the road like this in this type of weather.
And Tallahassee, Florida saw snow Wednesday for the first time in 28 years. But even when the snow stops falling, there's no relief. Single-digit temperatures return to the Northeast. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Boston.
Thousands of flights to and from the area are canceled due to weather. We turn now to our own weather scene with Ed McIntosh, and it begs the question, should we be preparing for anything like that?
Yeah, certainly we don't have the snow, but we've got our more than fair share of cold temperatures around. Let's take a look. We were talking about Helena and the air quality. You can see the haze there, especially with temperatures only at 5 degrees. It's an indication that that cold air is just pooled across the region, and that calm wind doesn't allow anything to be pushed out of the valley. As we take a look over towards Great Falls, a little more livable, but we do have a south breeze at about 16 miles an hour. Temperatures moving above freezing, so we are seeing some melting there, and it doesn't look so pleasant in Missoula, especially with temperatures into the teens this hour with a calm wind though. And you can see some of the glaze on the roads around Butte today with temperatures also into the teens. More on the weather coming up in a few minutes.
Thanks, Ed. Rising copper prices stirring optimism for those in Butte's mining industry. Montana's Resources in Butte is seeing copper values at more than $3.20 per pound, and molybdenum coming in at $10 per pound, which is the highest these metals have been in nearly 4 years. If prices hold, the company, which employs more than 350 people, expects high profits in 2018.
We want to control our safety, and we want to control our cost. And if we do both those things and we see these good prices, we're able to reap the benefits of these prices, and when we have tough times, we can weather the storm.
McGivern says the high price of copper is mainly due to high demand for the metal in China. 2 deceased Navy veterans received much-deserved honors at the Yellowstone National Cemetery in Laurel. Charles Culp died in 2008 and was placed in the cemetery in October along with his wife. Leroy Olson passed away October 24th. Olson was from South Dakota and Culp from Hardin. Both lived in Montana at the time of their deaths.
They are veterans that honorably served their country, and we always like to acknowledge that. They deserve a military funeral so that they have their honors. And so just because they don't have family, or maybe they might be homeless, or it doesn't matter. We still need to give them the honors that they deserve for serving their country.
Military honors for unattended veterans are held quarterly. About a dozen servicemen or women are honored each year. Still ahead on the noon news, South Korea may be the key to easing tensions between the U.S. and North Korea. We'll explain. But first, Ed has our weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching